So this video is by request. In the comments, a viewer posted this question and then another one and asked if I could go over them. So I don't actually know the source of these questions and I don't have an official answer key, but these are going to be first time walkthroughs, and I'll try to demonstrate how I would approach this question, both in terms of trying to understand the poem and then actually answering the question, which in this case has to do with the main purpose. So it's adapted from this poem, and we'll just go ahead and read it. She was a dream, and I'm thinking maybe that's a typo. She was a dream of moons, because that's not a word. Let's say of moons, of fluttering handkerchiefs, of flying leaves, of parasols. A parasol is kind of like an umbrella. A riddle made to break my heart. The lightest impulse to her was more dear than the deep-toned temple bell. She fluttered to my sword hilt an instant and then flew away. But who will spend all day chasing a butterfly? Okay, so what is going on here? And I'm not looking at the answer choices. You can't see my eyes, but I can tell you I'm not looking at the answer choices. We want to really try to come up with our own approximate answer first. So I'm going to say, to begin with, our poet, our narrator, is describing a woman. And how is she being described? Well, fluttering, flying, a riddle. Let's just say that she is somehow mysterious. Elusive, maybe. Okay. To her was more dear, the lightest impulse to her. An impulse in this context could mean something like, obviously, those who have taken physics, you know that there's a particular physics definition, and that's not what we're looking at here. The lightest impulse, maybe like a whim, a desire, something that she feels compelled to do, like an impulsive behavior. So maybe she is guided by her impulses. A sword hilt, I don't even know exactly what that is, but that could be, a part of a sword is what I'm guessing. And then flew away, but who will spend all day chasing a butterfly? I think basically he's comparing her to a butterfly and saying something like, he's not going to chase her. Now, maybe that's more figurative than literal, more figurative than literal. But yeah, he's describing a woman who he doesn't think he's going to try to pursue in some sense. And so let's see how that connects with the answer choices. Now, A, we can eliminate because that's a very literal, overly literal reading that, the butterfly is used in a figurative sense, a metaphorical sense. And so when you have a poetry question like this, that's definitely something to be wary of, those overly literal answer choices. Like A, to criticize, I don't think he's criticizing. To criticize those who would distract an individual. Again, I don't see anything apart from this mention of a sword, anything that makes me feel like there's any kind of war context or anything about a line of duty. To discuss the wistful feelings, and wistful is kind of like sad, nostalgic, melancholy. To discuss the wistful feelings that an individual has for an ethereal lover who has left him. Well, ethereal could connect to, elusive and mysterious. Has she left him? Perhaps. She flew away. So I wouldn't eliminate C. To demonstrate that a soldier has grown weary, tired, worn out with, weary of his code of ethics after losing the love of a delicate woman. I don't see anything to support that. So, I don't have the official answer key on this one, but I'm going to say that this one will need to be it's going to have to be C, unless I'm sorely mistaken, because, she fluttered and then flew away, but who will spend... I don't know. I don't see anything concrete that points to wistful feelings, but in the context, if he was sort of pursuing her and she has left him, that would be a reason to feel sad, to feel wistful. And again, I think maybe the strongest connection is between ethereal and this description here. And yes, wistful, here is a connection. Break my heart. Wistful feelings. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, so this would be C. And then our second one, a slightly different format. This would be what they call command of evidence textual, and then in particular the literary type where we're looking for a quotation. So it says here, the speaker describes both a moment a moment of calm and a moment of activity through the use of sound. Okay, well, that means our correct answer needs to talk about a moment faux calm. A moment of calm and a moment of activity, and it needs to do so through the use of sound. So we're looking for clues that connect to each of those elements. So today I saw a little calm child. Could be. Where soft lights ripped and the shadows tarried. What does it mean to tarry? That's kind of an antiquated word, but I think it means to kind of move slowly, to be lazy, but don't quote me on that. I haven't heard or used that word in quite some time. Within a church's shelter, arched and aisled. So the church's shelter was arched and there were aisles, peacefully wandering to the altar carried. And so one thing we have to keep in mind with poetry, when there is rhyme involved, as there is here, that is often going to mean that the word ordering is going to be reversed. So that can make things challenging, but we see child and aisled, tarried and carried. I don't see anything about the use of sound. And another thing I notice here, and something to be wary of on these questions, is a lot of times they're going to take an exact word, and that's going to be a distraction, because when you look at it more closely, you might see, well, okay, maybe it's doing that, but it's not doing these other things. So I'm going to say that we want to skip A, or not pick A. White-robed and sweet in semblance of a flower. So semblance, like resemblance, something that bears a sort of resemblance or similar appearance to a flower. White as the daisies that adorned. And here I'm going to say we've got another little typo, because the correct spelling would be adorned. Let me change colors there. Adorned. The chancel. Don't even know what a chancel is. Born like a gift. The young wife's natural dower, offered to God as her most precious hansel. And this is tough. So I don't think this is any kind of official College Board question. I think the style of this poem is actually more difficult than what we're going to actually see on the official test. I mean, this is tough in terms of just the sheer amount of antiquated language that your present day native speaker, such as myself, is going to have trouble with. And so it's not a fair thing to give to high school students, many of whom are not native English speakers. So, but I don't see anything about the use of sound. And so, again, I'm going to eliminate it. Then ceased the music, and the little one was silent, with the multitude assembled, hearkening. And when of father and son he spoke, the pastor's deep voice broke and trembled. Okay, so we have sound. We have something that connects with sound. And then we have something that maybe connects with calm. But I don't know about the moment of activity. I mean, a multitude assembling. I mean, is that activity? I don't love C, but I can't quite eliminate it the same way that I can with A and B. So let's try D. But she, the child, knew not the solemn words, and suddenly yielded or gave way to a troublous wailing, as helpless as the cry of frightened birds, whose untried wings for flight are unavailing. So, wow. If the bird's wings are unavailing for flight, if you avail yourself of something, you sort of take advantage of it. So I think in this case, unavailing would mean something like not equipped for flight. It's a helpless bird. And so, wow, I don't think this is, no offense to whoever put this together. I don't think this is a great question. I think it's, sometimes when you're dealing with the unofficial questions from whatever source, sometimes they can almost be counterproductive in the sense that you might really lose confidence in your ability to deal with the kind of questions you're going to see on the actual test. And again, I'm not seeing a great match here, but the child knew not the solemn words and suddenly yielded to it, as helpless as the cry of frightened birds. I don't know if I think the only one that I could possibly pick here would be C. But for anyone who has the answer key, I would be interested in your feedback. But I guess what I would say in terms of a takeaway point is whether it's a poetry question or some other kind of literary question, you just really want to pay attention to what it is that is in the prompt and see what you can find in terms of tangible, connections. So again, music, sound, silent, calm. If the multitude assembled, that could be a kind of activity. And here's another thing that has to do with sound. So again, I would say C, but I'm less confident about this one than about the other one.